I began volunteering on the farm in January 2021. It was cold and raining, and Roger assigned me my first job was to pick up this temporary electric netting. He showed me how to turn the electrics off so I wouldn't get shocked, and how to wrap up the netting without it getting too muddled up, as he said. We used the netting to let the sheep graze small areas at a time. And here we can see all the ewes grazing, and there's actually a couple of rams in there that we had together in January. The next job that I got assigned was to help install this gate by the newly formed driveway that George made. We actually did it all by hand, which was pretty fun and took a long time in the wet. But we got the job done, and looks pretty good, I think. In February, we got hit with what they were calling the Beast from the East 2. A couple of years prior, they had some snow like this in this part of Suffolk, but I think this beat it in terms of how much snow we actually got. Very unusual weather, and it lasted at least a week, um, and definitely came with some challenges on the farm. Shortly after the snowfall, we actually took the rams out from where the ewes are because they did their job, and we spent the rest of the time making sure that these lovely ladies who were now pregnant got all the food that they could during the remainder of the winter months, and got nice and big and strong so that they were ready to go for lambing season. If you're wondering what I'm doing, George gave me the lovely task of putting in fence posts that we used to start and install a perimeter fence around the whole of the farm. I did this while George was doing the easy job and moving the temporary fence around. And there he is. That's nice. Although I did get to help out a little bit later. A little later on, we had our first few calves of the year in 2021, and I spent my mornings before work going out and doing rounds on the farm, checking, make sure everything was a-okay. And here's a little calf getting milk from its mom. During my morning rounds, I would also check on these guys who were last year's lambs, and they were quite the group. They had quite a bit of attitude, and there was one particular one that liked to get out. Okay. I did eventually rein them all in, and yeah, Roger and George trusted me to independently move these guys around uh, when they grazed an area down too much, and I spent a lot of times with these little 1-year-old lambs. We also had goats on the farm, and these goats were very rambunctious. We had a lot of little ones at this time, and we decided to put the goat fencing around the mound of dirt that was dug up in the creation of the driveway, and they absolutely loved it. we're getting into spring now, and we moved the cattle around. We got them off their winter pastures at the farm and brought them to their spring and summer pastures. Here's one of the bulls that's still at the farm, and the next are a couple of young bulls that we kept around the farm for a little while to graze down some of the grass. They were very fun to watch, and I really enjoyed hanging out with these guys. Then in about May, it came time to move the ewes, who were recently pregnant, to some summer pastures to give the farm some time for the grass to grow back. So we moved them to a little, quite a large area in a little market town called Dedham, which is a lovely little place near Colchester in Suffolk. We'd moved them off, like I said, just to give the grass some time to grow back at the farm, because shortly after this, we brought them back for lambing season so we could keep a really close eye on them. But yeah, they had some nice pastures to graze here, and I really love this little market town. Here I am looking very chuffed once we arrived. Back on the farm, it was time to weigh and measure all of the new goats that showed up this year. This was quite the event, and I had a load of fun photographing this while Roger and George documented all the numbers. The little ones were super fun and rambunctious, but the big ones were a bit tougher to deal with, and you'll see right here. One of my most favorite days on the farm was doing worm counts, because Roger was very interested to see how the soil changed now that he had livestock on the land. Previous to this, it was just used for silo grain crop rotation, and it was really interesting to see the change in biodiversity and soil health just from having animals there. And then at the very end of May is when the lambs came.
Seeing eyes of mine, what do you feel beside? I don't know where we're gonna fly like you did sometimes. Seeing eyes of mine. Love, 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 I wanna be strong, strong. We're doing wrong, 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 but I'll try to fix it. Love, 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 I wanna be strong, strong. We're doing wrong, 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 but I'll change it, change.
all in all, I think there were somewhere around 60 or so lambs over the season. We actually spray painted their sides so that we knew which lamb belonged to which mom. And we actually ran out of numbers, so we started using things like X's and O's and anything that kind of resembled a marker that we could tell what it was. Through lambing season, I checked on these guys day and night, sometimes only a few hours in between, just to make sure that no other moms had given birth, because it's quite easy to lose these guys if they're not taken care of straight away, and you can only do so much. For example, here's a tiny little guy that was born in the middle of the night that I went out and I checked, and there it was, all healthy and good to go. We did unfortunately lose some lambs, as I mentioned, and also some mums. And with that, we had some orphan lambs that needed bottle feeding. So I also, every few hours, when I wasn't at work, I'd head out and bottle feed. George typically took the day shift, and I would take the night shift. And it actually worked out quite well. Sometimes the mums actually would be quite interested in the bottle when I was feeding the lambs. But this typically would either be a mom who was also an orphan lamb at one point, or maybe she's a mom who has lost a lamb. But they're quite curious and a lot of fun. This little one actually got quite sick at one point and actually needed antibiotics. We thought we were going to lose her a couple of times, but we managed to catch it in time and get some antibiotics in her, and she recovered just fine.
I wish I could do that.
unfortunately, we were hit pretty hard with a bad parasite that summer, and it was also a very hot year, and we lost quite a few sheep, including, unfortunately, this little lamb, who was absolutely lovely. But, that's farming for you, and unfortunately, you can't save everyone. But for the most part, all of the sheep did quite well, and, life goes on.